One is the proliferation of the cells, and that proliferation of the cells takes place due to uncontrolled cellular division. So, this disease is actually associated with the basic and fundamental unit of life, or it is actually associated with the basic and fundamental unit of living organisms. What is that? That is cell. You all know that cell is the basic and fundamental unit of living organisms. Why? Because every character which is being performed by the living organism, whether it is digestion, respiration, excretion, homeostasis, whether it is growth, whether it is development, or whether it is reproduction, all such characters are actually being governed by the cells. And when any of the cell of a living organism, here we will refer to the human beings, when any cell or any tissue or any organ in the body of a human being will lose its power over the regulation or over the control of its division. You know, if you are going to reproduce, your cells have to reproduce first. They have to divide. If you are going to grow, your cells have to divide. If you are going to develop, your cells have to develop first. And when a cell in a tissue, in the body of an organ, loses this property, which property? The power of division at specific times. Every body is specific cells, like the cells of our skin, like the cells of our gastrointestinal tract, like the cells of our bone marrow. They divide, and they divide continuously until we are living. But they divide in a regulatory manner. They themselves know, their genes know when to divide, when not to divide. You know, the average lifespan of the red blood corpus is 120 days. And some cells have a lifespan of years, some cells have a lifespan of days. And who is regulating these cells to maintain this continuity, to maintain this time period, that when they have to develop, when they have to grow, when they have to die? It is because of the genes which are primarily located within the cells. When such genes or when such cells lose this control over their respective division or the reproductive power, the cell is said to be transformed, or the cell is said to be cancerous. So, this cancer or this disease is characterized by proliferation of the cells due to what? Due to uncontrolled division. These are the two main things which are associated with this disease. The third main thing which is associated with the disease, that is some specific characters are linked with the cells, with the tissues which are cancerous. The first thing which is associated with the cells which are cancerous, that is loss of control. Loss of control over its reproduction. When a cell lost its control over its reproductive power, that when it has to reproduce, actually it prematurely reproduces, it prematurely divides, and it divides continuously. This character happens to be one of the first and most important character of the cancerous cells. And number second, this uncontrolled division leads to proliferation. It leads to proliferation, and it also leads to unwanted or unnecessary spread. It also leads to unwanted or unnecessary spread of these cancerous cells to different regions. See, once a tissue in the organ or the body of an organism is transformed or is cancerous, then the uncontrolled division of the cells takes place. Once, say, here the tissue has been transformed, now these cells are cancerous. Once these are cancerous, they lose the character, what is known as contact inhibition, and once they lose it, then they get proliferated, and after their proliferation, these cells are spread into the different regions of the body of an organism. Say, if this was the body of an organism, and here, if in the bone marrow the cancerous cells were present, they will divide in an uncontrolled manner. After their division, they will proliferate. After their proliferation, they will be distributed to the different regions of the body. And this character with which these cells or these proliferated cells get unnecessarily distributed from one region to the another region in the body of an organism, this very character is known as metastasis. This character is known as metastasis. Unnecessary, unneedful, unwanted movement of these proliferated or the cancerous cells from one region of the body of an organism or the human to the another region. Now, do you know what actually this cancer means, or what is its literal meaning? See, actually cancer is a Latin word. You should know it. Actually, it is a Latin word which has a literal meaning, or cancer literally means, what it literally means? Crab. You might be thinking that why it means crab, why it has been associated with one of the arthropod. You know, in arthropods there are some organisms what are known as crabs. We have went through the characteristic features of the arthropods, and the crabs, they have chelicerae, they have pedipalpi, and they have special type of the appendages with which they can drag the tissue, with which they can drag anything and they can tear it off. In previous times, once a person was suffering from this deadly disease, that is the cancer, when a person was, or a doctor was asking the patient how you are feeling, the answer was that as if this tissue, that tissue is being dragged away from me by a crab. I am feeling such a pain. Because of that, the disease was named so. And it is this cancer which has another important feature. What is that? That is formation of new growths or unnecessary growths, unwanted growths via a phenomena known as neoplasia formation. What is neoplasia? Neoplasia is literally when new growth from the uncontrolled division of the cells will take place. It literally means when there is new growth. Neoplasia means when there is new growth from uncontrolled cellular division. When uncontrolled cellular division will take place in the body of an organism, whether it will take place in one's brain, whether it will take place in one's connective tissue, whether it will take place in one's muscular tissue or any other tissue or any other region in the body of an organism, most probably it will lead to development of a new growth. That new growth will be uncontrolled, and that new growth formation from these uncontrolled cell divisions is known as, literally it is known as neoplasia. And when neoplasia will take place, the newly outgrowth or outgrowing tissue as such is known as tumor. it is known as tumor. See, if here cells are present, if they are normal, then the respective shape will be, say, like this. When uncontrolled division of the cells will take place, then the uncontrolled division of the cells will lead to loss of contact inhibition. Then because of the process of the metastasis, they will be unnecessarily migrating from one region to another region, and very oftenly these uncontrolled dividing cells will lead to formation of new outgrowth, and this new outgrowth is known as tumor. So tumor is outcome of the neoplasia or outcome of the uncontrolled cell divisions in the body of an organism. But these tumors are most probably of two types. The tumors or the new outgrowths, unnecessary, unwanted outgrowths can be of two types. Number one, see, have a look here. We are discussing about the outgrowths or tumors. It is not necessary that all cancers or all cancerous cells will lead to the formation of the tumors. Not necessary. Blood cancers won't lead to the formation of the new outgrowths or the tumors, but most of the cancers will lead to formation of the tumors or unnecessary outgrowths. But here the unnecessary outgrowths or the tumors because of the neoplasia, these tumors can be of two types. Number one, sometimes there can be a tumor, then can be an unnecessary outgrowth, like some persons are having the moles, they are having the warts, they are having some cysts over their body or their skin, and such things or such outgrowths are prevalent throughout the lifespan or the body of an organism, and they are not life-threatening to the respective persons, and such outgrowths are known as benign tumors. Such outgrowths are known as benign tumors. So what are these benign tumors? These are usually such type of outgrowths which remain such outgrowths which actually remain covered, or they are encapsulated in a layer of connective tissue. Outgrowths usually encapsulated in connective tissue sheaths, and it is because of these connective tissue sheath encapsulations or such outgrowths that they are not lethal, or they happen to be not life-threatening to the respective person in which or over which they are present. Henceforth, normally they are not life-threatening. So normally you will write down here that they are not, such unnecessary outgrowths are not life-threatening. You should know it. They are outgrowths, they are unnecessary, they are unwanted, but they are not life-threatening. For example, you might be having moles. They are not life-threatening to you in a normal sense. For example, warts. Sometimes some cysts are there. Some persons claim that they have some renal cysts, and such cysts are present from past 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, and they are not doing any harm to the respective person. Some persons say that they are having warts over their or their skin, or their fingers, or their other regions of the body, but they are not life-threatening. Some persons are having the moles or their skin or the different regions, and such things are not, such outgrowths, though they are unnecessary outgrowths, but they are not life-threatening to a person. So such tumors or such outgrowths are called as benign tumors. But there is second type of the tumors which are known as malignant tumors, which are known as malignant tumors. These are the tumors which actually develop because of what? Cancerous cells. These tumors actually and really develop because of or from cancerous cells. When within a tissue, proliferation and uncontrolled division of the cells takes place, most probably such cells lead to the formation of unwanted malignant outgrowths or malignant tumors from cancerous cells. So, the unnecessary outgrowth formed because of the cancerous cells are called as malignant tumors. Okay, these tumors develop from the cancerous cells and they are characterized by uncontrolled cellular division. What is the main difference between this and this? This malignant tumor is characterized by uncontrolled cellular division, number one. It is also characterized by uncontrolled by cell division, and it is also characterized by the process of metastasis. See, when different cancerous cells will accumulate, they will lead to the formation of the unnecessary or malignant tumor, and malignant tumor has two different characters in comparison to the benign tumors. One, their cells divide in an uncontrolled manner. If a biopsy will be done, or the general these mole or a wart or a cyst, such cells won't be dividing in vitro conditions. But if the biopsy will be done and the process of the reproduction will be looked after, or the cells which are present in a malignant tumor, they will be dividing continuously. So there will be uncontrolled division of the cells with respect to the malignant tumors. Number one, and number two, such cells will be having the ability of the loss of the contact inhibition, and such cells will be unnecessarily or unwantingly migrating from one region to the another region via the process what is known as metastasis. So these two things are associated with it. Acha, do you know the person who is studying these cancers, or the person who is studying studying these type of the tumors, or these type of the tumors, what that person is called? That person is called an oncologist. Oncologist is that person who studies tumors, and the study of the tumors is called as oncology. So study of tumor is called oncology, and the person who studies these, who is pursuing the study of this oncology, is said to be an oncologist. Okay, and after this we should know the different types of the cancers. The different types of the cancers actually or primarily arise from the two types. One type is the cancers which are associated or whose origin is from connective tissue. That is, one type is cancers of connective tissue. Okay, and second type is cancers of epithelial tissue. Cancers of epithelial cells or tissue. And the cancers who have their origin from the respective connective tissue of a respective person, such cancers are known as sarcomas. Such cancers are known as sarcomas. And the cancers whose origin happens to be what? Whose origin happens to be the epithelial cells or epithelial tissues. Such cancers are known as carcinomas. Such cancers are known as carcinomas. Primarily or basically all the cancers are associated with these two types of the tissues. Why so? Why they are not primarily associated with other types of the tissues? Because it is the connective tissue which continuously has to divide. If you will be having a look over the bone marrow, there are pluripotent stem cells which continuously lead to the formation of the RBCs, the WBCs, the platelets, the granulocytes, the agranulocytes, the eosinophils, the basophils, and other types of the cells. And it is our cell, it is our skin, or it is the lining of the gastrointestinal tract, the lining of the respiratory tract, the lining of the venereal tract, the lining of the reproductive tract, or the lining of this urinogenital tract or the urinary tract, where epithelial cells or the epithelial tissue is present. But that epithelial tissue has to repair, that has to grow, that has to regenerate, that has to form new types of the cells. So these two tissues or these two types of the cells will be having the chances to lose their control or the power of the division, thereby respectively lead to formation of sarcomas or carcinomas. Then in later part of our lectures, we will be discussing other types of the cancers like leukemias are there, or the blood cancers like the cancers of the prostate, cancers of the breasts, and cancers of the cervix, cancers of the oropharynx, cancers of the oral cavity, cancers of the colon, and other types of the cancers. But all such cancers happen to be the subtypes of these two primary types of the cancers. Now let us have a look over its incidence. Let us now have a look. First we will discuss the basics of this cancer, then we will discuss the mechanism of the different cancer causing agents and the development of the cancers, or the transformation of the normal cells into the cancerous cells, how that happens, what is the mechanism lying behind that. We will discuss that part of this topic in our later lectures. First, let us have a look over the incidence of the cancer. You know, it is the cancer which is the second largest killer. I already told you that it is second largest killer of humans. This is its incidence. So far as our country or the India is concerned, in 2020, India reported almost 14 lakh cancer cases. 14 lakh. In this year, India reported 14 lakh cancer cases, and across the globe there were almost 19.5 million. Across the globe there were almost 19.5 million cases. 19.5 million cases were there across the globe, and almost 10 million people died. 10 million people died because of this deadly disease, that is cancer. And after that we will be discussing the etiology of the cancer. And so far as the etiology of the cancer, we have to discuss the different causes or the origin for the development of different types of the cancers, and the causes vary with these cancer causing agents. The cancer causing agents can be physical, the cancer causing agents can be chemical, and the cancer causing agents can be, number 3 is environmental, and number 4, the cancer causing agent can be genetic itself. 4 major etiological causes of the cancer which we are going to discuss in our next lecture: physical, chemical, environmental, genetic. Radiations are associated with the physical causes, heat is associated with the physical causes. We will be discussing the role of the concrete in the development of different types of the cancers in the Kashmiri people in our coming lectures, and the chemical causes like the use of the pesticides, the use of the different chemicals, the use of unnecessarily these antibiotics and the drugs and other things. And environmental causes can be their different environmental factors sometimes lead to development or transformation of the cells, and as such they lose the control, which we will also discuss that in our coming lecture. And genetic causes, there are oncogenes, there are some genes which are responsible for the maintenance of the regulatory control over the division of the cells within a cell. Sometimes that cell, because of the mutation of such a respective genes, it leads to loss of such genes or loss of their control or a deletion of such genes, then thereby conversion of the respective cell into the neoplastic cell or into the transformer or the cancerous type of cell. So these causes will be discussed in the coming lectures. Now let us have a sum up look over our today's topic, that is we discussed today this disease, that is the cancer, and we have actually discussed it this first part. The second and the third part will be discussed in coming second and the third lecture, which will be over this topic. So cancer, I told you, it itself speaks that I am the world's second largest killer after coronary heart disease, the third being AIDS, and it has the cancer itself speaks that I have some specific character, like I have the ability of the proliferation. In me, there is the ability of the proliferation of the cells, and there is uncontrolled division. And then there are some characters which are associated with the cancer, that is uncontrolled division, that is loss of control over its divisional power or the reproductional power, and the proliferation and unwanted or unnecessary migration of these cancerous cells from one region to the another region through a process what is known as metastasis. And then we came to know the literal meaning of the cancer. Actually, it is a Latin word, and its literal meaning is the crab, because a person who is suffering from this deadly disease, that is the cancer, he is complaining of the grabbing pains, as if the respective tissue of that person is being grabbed out by a crab. And then we discussed the process of the neoplasia, or the neoplasia. We said that it is the new growth of the tissue of the cells which takes place because of uncontrolled cellular division, and this process leads to the formation of unnecessary outgrowth, and that unnecessary outgrowth is known as tumor. And then we discussed that tumors can be of the two types. They can be benign or they can be malignant. Benign tumors are not life-threatening. The examples of the benign tumors are moles, warts, etc. And the malignant tumors are the outcome of the cancerous cells, and they are life-threatening, they are most deadly, and it is these malignant tumors in which the cells have the ability of metastasis. That is why once a person develops cancer in some any part of his body, then that cancer, that outgrowth, that this tumor has the ability to migrate from one region to another region and lead to conversion of other normal cells into the cancerous cells via a process what is known as metastasis. Then we told you that oncologist is that person who studies these cancers, and the subject which deals with the study of these cancers or the tumors